Hello and welcome back to my channel, Board Games in a Minute. I know I've been gone for quite some time. Last week my ring light, one of my ring lights broke, so I know that typically the quality of my videos is not as high as the quality of videos on other channels, and with a ring light broken it would have been even worse. so I couldn't shoot a video last week, and the week before that of course was my top 10 videos. So you know, I haven't done a weekly playback in a while, so there is a lot to catch up on. And welcome to my new subscribers. I don't know if you'll be watching these weekly playback videos, but I gained, you know, a couple hundred subscribers from my top 10 videos, so welcome to my channel if you are watching. I hope you'll stick around. So let's just get into the games that I have played over the last few weeks. I will see how many I can get through, so let's get started. Let's talk about Satori. Satori is a 2023 game designed by Paco Yanez, and the art is done by Ito Valls, and it's published by Paraloka Games, and it is for 1 to 4 players. In this game, so Satori is a Japanese Buddhism term for awakening and refers to a full and deep experience of enlightenment. So in this game, you are trying to become enlightened, and whoever, of course, has the most spiritual points at the end of the game will win. So this game is a worker placement game. You are going to have shared workers in this game. So in this game you will have, where are they? Workers of 3 different colors. So you're going to have like a burnt orange kind of color, like a gray kind of color, and a dark purple kind of color. These will be placed into the cloth bag. And at the beginning of each round, depending on how many players there are in the game, a certain number of workers will be drawn. And then starting with the first player, you are going to select a worker and then choose that worker to place somewhere on the board and perform an action. And you'll just be going around and around until all the workers from that round have been placed. And then you'll start the next round. I believe that there are a total of 6 rounds in this game, but I could be wrong. 5 rounds. Okay, so there's a total of 5 rounds in this game. So you're just going to be going around and around, placing workers until the round is over, and then you'll do cleanup and so on. So each player is going to have their own components, and I guess I'll show you the components as I get to the individual parts of the board to explain what's being done. But you're going to have like a certain number of Buddhas, which you'll be placing up into the cloud areas in order to meditate and hopefully get some kind of tiles up there that you'll then need to be able to place into a pagoda that you're helping to build. There's going to be altars that you will be worshiping at, and you might even be building new altars. You might want to make an offering. So there's an offering track, you can spend incense on prayer wheels in order to kind of get a little bonus that you might need, and so on. So there's a lot going on in this game. The way that scoring is going to work in the end, so each person has a certain number of these jacoros. So jacoro is an incense burner. So you are going to be placing these incense burners onto various altars on the board, as well that you own, and as well as onto the pagoda. And the pagoda, when you place them on the pagoda, no one owns the pagoda, but the points that you earn at the end of the game, you're going to be multiplying the number of your jacoros times the number of altars that you own, and that will be your points on the one section of the board. And on another section of the board, your points will be the number of jacoros you own times the number of roofs that have been placed by all of the players. So in that section, you want to place jacoros if players are actually placing down roofs onto the pagoda and building up that pagoda, which of course does earn you benefits as well to help build it up. So you'll get points and stuff that way as well. But of course, in order to place those roofs, you need to meditate and get meditation tiles. So I'll explain all of this in a little bit. So let me just show you the main board and show you the different areas, and I will be throwing up pictures to illustrate. So this is the side of the board you will be using in a multiplayer game. So I played a 4-player game of this. So you're going to see up here, you will have slots for your bells, which will indicate player order. And then you'll see here that there are more slots. So each person has 2 bells, because one of the actions you can take is to try to become the first player. And if you do so, then that will alter the player order for the next round. But here are a bunch of altars. So you start with some altars printed on the board. And you'll see, I'll try to show a close-up, but under each altar you'll see like a different color, which indicates the color of the meeple. If you use a matching meeple, then you basically get to do both sides of the altar, the actions on both sides, which may be collecting resources or doing a certain kind of action. However, if you do not use a matching meeple, then you get to do only one of the actions on one side of the altar. So for example, this is an orange meeple. So if you placed an orange meeple here, you would get to do a sun action, and I'll explain what that means. And you would also get to do a conversion in order to get an emerald. Emeralds are worth points at the end of the game, and they are really hard to come by, but you would need emeralds in order to like maybe build certain things and so on. So that's how altars work. Meditation tiles, so you'll have clouds, and you're going to have various meditation clouds. So when you meditate, you can place one of your Buddhas on one of the stars that is not occupied by an actual star token. And then you are trying to get the sun to move to where you are. When the sun moves to where you are, then you as the Buddha get to do what's listed on that tile and then take that cloud tile. And these can be turned in at the end of a round for like certain kinds of resources, or they turn into roofs to help build up this pagoda. And again, that's something you want to do because you will gain points when you build up a pagoda roof, and it'll also help to get everyone points at the end of the game based on how many roofs there are. So that's how meditating works, and I'll go into more detail in a bit. Down here, you're going to have incense. So every time you can gain a maximum of 3 incense, and once per round you can go down on the incense tracker in order to exchange that for a resource that you might need. So that comes in pretty handy. However, if you have 0 incense at the end of a round, you will lose a point. So you don't want to spend too much of that. On the other side of the board, which I'll try to move it here, you're going to have certain tiles here so that you'll be able to build new altars with. And of course, there's a cost you can see here. So you can place a worker here in order to take the build action and then build a new altar, and then you would place one of your tokens to indicate that you own it. So you would place a token that looks like, let me find it, here. So this is an altar token. So you would place that on top of the altar to show that you own it. And you can end up owning some of the ones that are already printed on the board. The ones that are gold cannot be covered up by other altars, but you can overbuild over some existing altars if you want. An important note is that you cannot build an altar that does not have a matching color. So again, you'll see some of these spaces, if you want to overbuild them, it has to be a matching color altar, and I'll show you the components in a bit. So your altar pieces are going to be here. So the first altar you build, you won't have to spend anything, but for the second altar you build, you will have to spend 1 cloud token in order to remove that piece and then build that altar. And then for the second one, you would need to remove 2 of them. So yeah, and you're also going to have these little tokens that I'll explain that you'll be placing on an altar. So I'll show you all of that in a minute. And then this down at the bottom just shows you what you do at the end of a round to clean up. So I'll be going into detail in all of these in a minute. And the workers you are selecting from are placed at the bottom of the board. So at the bottom of the board down here, when you draw out the workers, that's where they will be placed, and then each player will select a worker one at a time in order to take their actions. So there are a different number of resources in this game. So as mentioned, emeralds are the most valuable. You also have wood, and you have, what is this? Stone. So you have stone, wood, and emeralds, and of course money. So there is mon, which is money. So yeah, let's see. So let me just show you an example of an altar tile that you might be able to build. So these are randomly selected. So you are going to shuffle all of these and place them face down, and then for each round, place them face up. They do not get replenished right away. So at the end of the round, they will get replenished. But as you can see, here is an altar that is purple. So if you build this, you can only place it on a blank altar space that has no color indicated at the bottom or on top of an existing purple altar. And then anytime you build an altar, you get to select one of the tiles to place on that altar to indicate what the other side's reward would be. And these are also shuffled and replenished at the end of the round. So for example, you might be able to select this one or select this one, and those you would select and place onto your altar tile in the second spot. So that way, if someone places a matching colored meeple there, they would get to take both actions. Now, when you own an altar and someone else places a meeple on your altar to take an action, you get to go up the offering totem pole or whatever it's called. I don't know if it's called a totem pole, but there is a pole here, an offering pole that you will get to go up on. And let me show it to you. So here. So there is this pole that you will get to increase on every time someone uses an altar that you own. So you'll get to go up, and then at the end of a round, you can drop back to the bottom in order to take the benefit listed there. But if you don't do that and you reach all the way to the top, then it'll be worth 3 points for you. And I do feel like points can be a little bit hard to come by in this game, so you probably will not drop down. In my game, the game that I played, I don't recall anyone ever exchanging dropping down in order to get a benefit from that in the game that we played. So yes, so the various actions, so there are various, this is a game that's built, that's based on iconography. So like, for example, if you go to an altar, you place a meeple at an altar, that would allow you to do certain actions or gain certain resources. So based on the iconography, that will determine what you get to do. So for example, if you see an incense stick, that means you get to increase your marker one space up on this incense burner, which again, once per turn, you can go down a slot in order to get a resource or an action of some kind. If you see a sun, the clouds are all going to have a sun marker. So here is the sun marker. So each cloud section has its own sun marker. And when you do a sun action, you move it one space counterclockwise or clockwise. And if the sun lands on your Buddha that you had previously placed there, then you get to perform the action of the cloud and take the cloud tile, which again you will need in order to build up more altars and to build roofs on this pagoda. So that is what that action means. Some of these are just resource conversions. This one is to build an altar. So this icon means build an altar. So again, you're going to look over there, see which altars are available, pay the resources that are indicated. So the top altar is always 2 coins, the second altar is 2 wood, and the last altar is 2 stone to buy. And there's only 3 per round. So those do not get replenished right away. So that means build an altar. So the Buddha, again, you're going to place a Buddha on one of the clouds on an open spot. What else? You can always just place, let me try to move this. You can always just place a worker here if you want to, and then do what's listed here. So you can place a worker here, and if you're the first worker there, you can get either 2 coins or move up 1 on the incense. If there are 2 different workers there, so 2 different colors, you can, and so that means like if you were the second person to place a worker there and it was a different color than the one from before, then you could get either 3 coins or go up 1 space on the incense burner. And again, if there were 3 different colored workers there, you can get 4 coins and so on. That thing that looks like upside down French fries, that is this pole that we talked about. So, you could increase your space up here. I believe that that's what that means. I didn't do that action, so a little bit unsure on that. Here, if you do a pagoda action, so let me see if I can find a pagoda symbol for you here. So here is the pagoda symbol. So it looks different than the altar symbol. So if you do a pagoda action, that means you can build onto this pagoda. So you would build a roof. So each round you can only build for that round or below. You cannot go above. So if we're in round 1, a person can only build a roof on top of this. If we're in round 2 and the round 1 roof hadn't been built yet, then you have 2 different options and so on. And of course they get more and more expensive. There is a scoring tile at the very top for the person who achieves that at the end of the game. It's not necessarily that someone would achieve it, but if someone does, you would get the scoring tile, which is going to be worth extra points at the game. So on each pagoda level, there is going to be a tile on which you can place one of your Jacoros if you take a Jacoro action. So let me find you an example of that. Here we go. Let's see. So for example, someone would first need to flip. So on each tile, there's going to be some kind of a cost. So for example, this one is 2 emeralds and 7 points. So let's suppose someone has 2 emeralds that they can turn in for 7 points, then this would get flipped over. So first you need to meet the cost on it in order to then flip it over. Once it's flipped over, there are now 2 spaces for Jacoro tiles, tokens. So if you take a Jacoro action, which looks just like this symbol, so if you see this symbol, that means it's a Jacoro action, then you can place your Jacoro there. So on the pagoda, your Jacoros times the number of roof tiles will equal your points over here. Out in this section of the board, your Jacoro tiles times the number of your altars is going to be your points in that section of the board. So that is not as lucrative as over here. This is probably the more lucrative area in terms of points. So yeah. So what else? I think that's about it. I think I've covered all of the sections. So yeah, so basically it's a game in which you are placing workers in different locations, and if you can place a matching colored worker, because again, workers are shared between all the players, so you know, you kind of want to keep an eye on which workers of how many colors there are, and you know, it's hard to keep track of what other players are doing, so you might not necessarily know what someone else's strategy is, because that's going to be a lot to keep track of, but it is sometimes, you know, obvious to you. But you know, so there's only 3 different colored workers, and so if you really wanted to do, like for example, a sun action, then you know you need an orange worker for that if you want to take advantage of both sections. So you know, so you're going to be doing picking up workers based on, you know, the actions you want to take, and hopefully trying to optimize your actions. So this is a game in which you can end up chaining a lot. So there are turns where you might get only 1 thing done, but then there are turns where you might get 3 things done. You might get a resource, you might get to move the sun, you might get to collect a cloud tile, and as a result you might even get to build something. So you might get to place a Jacoro. So there are going to be turns you have that if you work them out really well, you will get a lot out of that turn, and that can be super satisfying. However, there's going to be turns where you only end up doing 1 thing, like collecting 1 resource or deciding that you want the first player spot. So for example, you could place a worker here and then decide that you want to place your other bell. Oops, I'm on the wrong side. You can decide that you want to place your bell over here to reserve the 1 player spot. So if you do that, you can place a worker here and then decide that you just want to reserve the first player spot. So that, you know, that's an action you can take. You know, so let's see what else. I think I've covered mostly everything. Yes. So you're just, again, trying to optimize your actions by building things and collecting resources, building as much as you can in order to get the points at the end of the game. I absolutely love this game. I thought it was super duper good. So at the end of each round, I'll just go through round cleanup. So you, again, if you have no incense on the burner, then you will lose a point. You have the option again of dropping down here in order to collect something if you are on that offerings pole. But again, not really anyone did that. If you have Buddhas placed in a cloud that did not end up collecting that cloud tile because you never got around to it, like the sun never landed on the Buddha for you to be able to do that, in order to keep those Buddhas from round to round, you have to pay an incense per Buddha. Otherwise, you get to take that Buddha back. And then, of course, at the end of each round, you can turn in those cloud tiles for either money or incense if you want. So 1 cloud tile equals 1 money, 2 cloud tiles equals 1 incense. So that's cleanup at the end of each round. And then at the end of the game, you will... oh, so each person did have an objective tile. I forgot to mention that. So over here, you will see this symbol here. So after the 3rd round, you would have the opportunity of revealing your objective tile. So I had an objective tile where I needed to collect the most emeralds. So let me see if I can find those objective tiles to show you. No idea where they are. Where are these? Oh, here they are. So each person had a secret objective, and at that point in the game, you would turn it over. So if at that point in the game, I had this one. So I think I needed to have the most emeralds. I'm trying to remember how this goes. So yes, if I had the most emeralds, then I would have gained like 3 points or something like that. I don't remember, but like you turn over your objective tile. Oh no, so that wasn't the one I had, sorry. Here is the one I had. So yeah, so it shows you at the top what you need. So this one, I needed the most emeralds out of all the players, and if I did, then I would get this reward here. And then at the end of the game, if you still had your objective at the end of the game, then you would get the points listed. So each person has a secret objective tile that they like can flip over mid-round, mid-game, and then try to get their bonus resources or whatever. So like someone needs to be highest up on that offerings pole, someone needs to have the most clouds, someone needs to have the most Jacoros placed onto the board, someone needs to have the most points, it looks like, and then mine was to have the most emeralds. So yes, let me just show you the Sorin tile. So at the top of the board is this. So at the top of the pagoda, I mean. So at the very top of the pagoda, if you have all of these resources, you can turn them in to flip it over, and this will be worth points at the end of the game as well if someone was able to do that. So let me just go to end of game scoring just to make sure I got all of the points. Oh yes, so you'll be scoring your amulet tiles. That's what these are called. If you met the condition, you will be scoring your Jacoros in the pagoda. So each person will receive a number of points of their Jacoros multiplied by the number of roofs that players had built. And the roofs are communal, so it's not like I built that roof, so it's mine. So however many roofs there are, you will multiply the number of Jacoros times the number of roofs. You will multiply your Jacoros by the number of altars you have, so that will be points. Oh, interesting. It says different colored altars they have. I wonder if that's something we messed up. It says each player receives an amount of SP, so spiritual points, calculated by multiplying the number of their Jacoros on their altars by the number of different colored altars they have. I wonder if we did that correctly or incorrectly. I wonder if people were paying attention to the colored altars. So in that case, I think you want to pay attention to which altars you are building. So for example, again, this is an orange altar and this is a purple altar. So I'll have to ask the people we played with to see if we did that correctly, because right now I can't remember if we scored that part correctly. And then you score for unused resources. So for every 5 unused resources, that includes wood, stone, money, clouds, you will get 1 point. And then each emerald you have left at the end of the game is 1 point. And then whoever has the most points will win. But again, from round to round, if your incense is on the 0 spot, you will lose a point for that. So yeah, so it's a really cool worker placement game in which you have shared workers of different colors, and you are deciding which worker you want to take and where you want to place it, and you are just trying to optimize your actions as best as possible. It's really good. It's one of those games where, again, if you maximized an action you took, that it resulted in several different things in one turn. That is super exciting, but it can be really frustrating sometimes when you know you just can't do that and you just kind of have to waste a turn by getting just one thing. That can just be really disappointing in this game. It is a game in which you will have quite a bit of downtime between turns, because if someone is doing a whole lot on their turn, you will end up waiting quite a bit until it's your turn again. Also, you know, there can be significant AP in this game, analysis paralysis, because you are really trying to map out the best way to get as much as possible on your turn. And you know, you might be thinking a turn or two ahead as well. Like, okay, if I do this in this turn, and if this worker is still here for the next turn I take, then I can do this. So, you know, there is going to be quite a bit of AP in this game as well. So if that does not bother you, then I really think you will love this game so much. Like, I really loved it. It's like it's quite a bit of a puzzle in trying to see how you can optimize your actions. You know, it seems like a lot when you're going through the rule book, but once you learn the iconography, it's super duper easy. Really easy to get a feel for. Again, the only thing that's gonna kind of make this game a bit longer is the analysis paralysis that people have, and just the amount of time that people will take on their turns, especially if they are doing a bunch of stuff on their turns. You will just be sitting there like, you know, just watching and kind of waiting for your turn. But I really loved it. I absolutely love the artwork too. It's just very pretty. It's just a really nice game, and I'm really glad I picked it up at Essen. So yeah, so that was Satori. So let's move on. So another game I played recently is Wayfarers of the South Tigris, which is, I don't have it with me, so I'm just gonna throw up pictures, which is a 2022 game designed by Shem Phillips and S.J. McDonald, and the art is done by the Micho, and it's published by Garfield Games, and it's for 1 to 4 players. So in this game, as you guys might know, I've discussed it, like I'll link my overview video for it that I did for when it was launching below, but basically it's a game in which, you know, you have set collection going on, there's drafting, there's a board in which you're going up this various journey track, and you're trying to meet different objectives to advance on this track, and so on, and get different kinds of workers. You're building your own tableaus, you're collecting different kinds of cards, you're collecting land cards, you're collecting sea cards, you're collecting astronomy cards, sky cards, you're collecting people, you're collecting inspiration cards, which are tucked under the sky cards to kind of multiply your points if you meet the objectives of the sky cards, and so on. And there are shared workers in this game. So in this game, each person starts with a blue and a yellow worker, and then there are green workers, which if you are the first person to advance on the journey board, you can collect these green workers along the way. And on your turn, what you're basically doing is you are either going to play a worker, you're going to place dice, or you're going to rest and recover. So you're going to roll some dice at the beginning, and each person has their own caravan and their own cards, and determining based on your caravan, you'll get to see which icons you have available for what kinds of actions or resources you might get or be able to do. And then, you know, based on the dice you rolled, those are the actions and resources that will be available to you when you use your dice. And resting basically means you get to collect all of your dice, re-roll them, and then, you know, start again. So there is no set round. Basically, people are just going and going until they decide to rest, and then, you know, start over. So again, you can either place a worker, place a die, or rest. So the worker part is really frustrating in this game, I found. So this was my third time playing Wayfarers, and it was a 4-player game. I played it previously once at a 4-player count, but in this game, there was one player who just was doing so well, and he managed to hoard all the workers and had no need to use them. So because he didn't need to use the workers, they weren't becoming available for me or the other players to get. And so we had to rely on our own tableaus to try to do what we needed to do, which was really hard because some of the upgrade tiles for the caravan are impossible to get, or near impossible, without workers if you don't have certain cards in your tableau that would help you to get them. So it just became really difficult. Like, we were just kind of locked into doing certain actions because the guy who was doing so well in hoarding all the workers just wasn't using them. And he didn't need to use them because he had such a good tableau going. So that was really frustrating. I still really enjoyed it. It's still a really fun game. Like I really enjoy it. I think it's super fun, but it was just really frustrating when it would become your turn and you are very limited in what you can do because one player is like hoarding all the workers. So the guy who had all the workers had a really good tableau going and he didn't really need to use the workers and he scored 79 points. Then another player, and this is a husband and wife couple, by the way, and it was their first time, both of their first times playing this game. And she had a couple workers, but more than me and the other player did, but not as much as her husband. She scored 61, and then I came in with 30, and then another player with 26. So it was me and the player who scored 26 who were really struggling without the workers in this game and really needed them. So yeah, so that was a bit frustrating. So it was just an experience that, of this game where I'm like, okay, surely, like the designer even knew it. Like it's in the rule book. It's in the rule book. Like there may come a point where one person has all of the workers and you're not going to have workers to use. And I wonder, they're such experienced designers though. So, and it's, this game is still highly rated. I'm sure that, I wonder if there's been other games where people have run into this issue. But like if there's no incentive for the players to use the workers and they have a really good tableau, then that really is going to hurt the other players if they don't have the cards they need to get certain things. And I wonder how many games have been played where this has happened for people. I'd be really curious. If you played Wayfarers of the South Tigris at like a 3 or 4 player count, I would love to know if you played games where one person was like hoarding all the workers and how that affected your play of the game. Because yeah, I mean, it was frustrating. It's not that I would never play this game again. I still had a lot of fun playing it and I really enjoyed it, but it was a pretty frustrating aspect to not have workers available and always have to come up with some kind of other strategy. And it just felt like it took longer to do the things that I needed to do as a result. So that was a game that I played recently as well. So let's move on. So another game I played recently, which I do not own, but I really loved, was Djinn, which is a 2023 game designed by Benjamin Schwer, and the art is done by Dennis Lahausen, and it's published by Pegasus Spiel, and it is for 1 to 4 players. So this is a kind of grid movement game with set collection and endgame bonuses and so on going on. So I'm going to just look at some images to try to recall exactly how to play. So it's been a couple of weeks, but I really enjoyed this game. So you're going to have a big board, and hopefully I still have pictures to show. And each player is going to have like a guy who's going to be moving around on this board, and you're going to be entering different icons. And if it's a circle icon, you get to do like 1 or 2 things. If it's a square, then you get to do only one thing with the associated area. So there's going to be different locations on the board, like for example, a market area, a library, and so on. So there's just going to be different areas on the board in which you get to do different actions. So you, in this game, are basically trying to collect resources and get various things. You're trying to buy bottles of different colors that you can capture genies and djinns and put them into. And you also need bottle toppers in order to do that, because your own player board will only hold a certain number of djinns that are not in bottles. And you'll be able to uncover more spaces as you go along, as you progress throughout the game. There's going to be cards that you are collecting, which, of different types, that will hopefully give you a bonus of some kind if you go to a certain area. What else? So as you move around from location to location on this board, which is where grid movement comes in, you will encounter djinns. So there's going to be smaller djinns and then big djinns. Whenever you land in a space in which there's djinns, you have to try to capture one of them. So if you're not able to capture one of them, then you will lose a certain amount of power or something like that. There's like some resource of some kind that you lose, which I cannot remember exactly what that was. But yeah, so I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's been a couple of weeks now since I played this game, but I really, really loved it. Like, I remember really enjoying this game when I played it. So, you know, it's kind of like a grid movement game with like kind of lots of resource conversion going on, but you know, you're also trying to find the optimal ways in which to move on this map so that, you know, you don't want to run into djinns when you are not able to capture them, because, you know, that is going to be negative for you, bad for you. And you're also trying to go around in such a way that you can hopefully perform the actions you want from the various sections of the board, but also capture the colored djinns you want. Because if you have, I believe it's 3 of a certain color djinn, you can turn those in for a trophy. And trophies are good for you, of course, because they're going to be worth points at the end of the game. So yeah, so you know, there's a lot going on in this game. You're just trying to capture djinns of various colors, get the bottles you need. You know, I think there are some kinds of spell cards and stuff like that too, and different kinds of people that you might be able to use. There were kinds of different, you know, kinds of resources in this game as well. There were kinds of, there were goals in this game. So there was, you know, objectives that you would be trying to meet in this game as well, to get extra points. But sometimes if you didn't do a certain thing, you might get points. Like, I remember one of the objectives being like, if you did not place all of your tokens in a certain area of the board, then you would get this amount of points, because by placing your tokens there, you get benefits. So if you didn't place them, then you would get a certain number of points at the end of the game. So again, it's a really cool game in which there's like all these different sections of the board, and as you're moving around on the map, where you land will indicate which actions you perform in the various sections and how many of those actions you can take, like whether it's 1 or 2. So that again depends on whether you land on a circle spot or a diamond spot. So yeah, so it's a really cool game, and I really, really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, I don't own it, so it's really hard for me to, you know, recollect everything about it, but I just remembered that I really, really enjoyed it a lot. So that was another game that I played in the last couple of weeks. So let's move on. Another game I played recently is one of my new purchases, which is called Lacuna. This is a 2023 game for 2 players, designed by Mark Garretts, and the art is done by Nick Leafheber, and it's published by CMYK. So this is a 2-player abstract game, and I'll throw up a picture, but basically you are going to have this one large cloth playing area, and this thing is actually going to be used as a part of setup. So you are going to have a bunch of different flower tokens in different colors. So you are going to place all of these flower tokens in here, and then place this back on, and then you're going to sprinkle those flower tokens by having them come out of that little opening onto this main area of the cloth mat. So there's going to be a big circle in the center, and you want all of the flowers to be scattered around in that circle, and you don't want any clumped together too close. So if they are, you just kind of like push them and, you know, just kind of like adjust them as necessary without influencing too much, you know, where the flowers go. But you kind of want them as spread out as much as possible. And then each person is going to have trophies in their own color. So let me show you. So these are really nice components, by the way. These are metal, and they are super nice. They're really chunky. So each person, I believe, is going to have 7 of these. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So each person will have 6 trophies in their own color. And on your turn, what you're going to do is you are going to place your trophy between 2 flowers of the same color. They have to be uninterrupted and in a straight line. And you can use this ruler. This ruler really comes into play in the second part of the game, though. So you are going to eyeball like different flowers on the mat and place them between 2 flowers of the same color. And once you do that, you pick up the 2 flowers that you placed your trophy between, and your trophies will stay on the mat, and that's really important. After both players have placed all 6 trophies, there's going to be flowers that remain on the mat. At that point, you are going to see whose flower, whose trophy is closest to each individual flower, and they will take that flower. If there happens, and you will use this ruler to, you know, make sure. And if there is a tie, then you will see who has a trophy, another trophy that is closest to that flower, and so on. That's how you're going to break ties. And then at the end of the game, the way it's scored, and you know, this is something you want to know before you actually start collecting flowers, is you are going to count up the flowers for which you have at least 4 of that color. And then, so the player who scores the majority of flowers, 4 plus in a color, wins that color. Then the player who wins the majority of colors wins the game. So you need to have at least 4 flowers of a certain color in order to win that color. And then whoever has won the most colors will win this game. So it's a, you know, it's a very simple kind of strategic, abstract strategic game. It's very pleasant. I played it just once. My opponent thought it was nice, but she wasn't too intrigued by it, actually. She thought it was okay. I think that there's probably a little bit more strategy to it than I thought there would be, but not a whole lot. Like, I guess, because, it's pretty random where the flowers are going to fall, and each game is just going to be kind of random like that, and each game you're just going to be trying to, collect colors, have, at least 4 of a certain color of flowers, and then place your pawns strategically so that hopefully they're close to other flowers that will be collected in the second part of the game, and so on. I mean, you get the idea. So it's kind of just a little light strategic, not super strategic, but like a little light, enjoyable filler game. And I think it's a nice game to take to cafes and stuff like that if you have a table big enough. It's the container that really captured my eyes when I saw this at my game store, and that was why I was intrigued by it and ended up buying it. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to keep it. Yes, I probably will keep it. I think it's a nice 2-player game to play, like, again, at cafes and stuff like that. Of course, it's not super portable because it's a little bit bigger than a smaller filler game, like the kind of weight that you would expect, but it's nice, it's pretty, so I'll probably keep it and probably play it now and then. So yeah, so that was Lacuna. So let's move on. So another game I played recently is Pacific Ocean, which is a 2023 game designed by Oleg Melishin and Yuri Yamshikov, I hope I pronounced that right. The art is done by Tati Bordeaux, Lana Elanor, and Ksenia Smakova, and it's published by Timoshov Publishing, and it is for 1 to 3 players. I played a 2-player game of this. The reason I backed this on Kickstarter was because of the watercolor artwork of the different sea animals, which I absolutely loved the watercolor artwork. So if you have ever played the game Make Me a Planet, The Little Prince, Make Me a Planet, similar mechanism in this game. So it's a set collection game in which each person is going to have a sanctuary card. So let me just show you what the sanctuary cards look like. So for example, let me find a sanctuary card. Where are they? Here, yes, here we go. Okay, so here are a few different sanctuary cards. So, and they're double-sided, so each sanctuary card will either have icons at the top or a scoring condition on the back. So that's what every sanctuary card is going to look like. And so each player is going to decide which sanctuary card they want at the start of the game and decide which side they want to play with. And then each player is going to start the game with 3 cards in hand. And on your turn, you are going to place 1 card face up and 1 card face down, and your opponent will get to pick one of those cards, and you will get the other card to add to your sanctuary. So, just like The Little Prince, Make Me a Planet, you're trying to kind of figure out, is the more desirable card the one that's face down, because you have no idea what the face down card is, or should you just go with the safer choice that you can see is face up, and you're going to place it in your sanctuary. The way you place it in your sanctuary is you're going to place it underneath the sanctuary card, and you're going to decide whether you want the icons showing or the scoring objective showing. So by the end of the game, you will have cards that are beneath it on this way and beneath it above here. So you're going to have a bunch of cards that are underneath your sanctuary showing either icons and scoring conditions. And then at the end of the game, you're going to go through all of your scoring conditions in order to score those based on the icons you have. And some of the scoring conditions will actually borrow from your opponent's cards. Like, so for example, you might see that, like this one. So this one says for every blue and green icons that your opponent has, you will get 2 stars. So some of them you will be looking at what your opponent's sanctuary has in order to get you points. So it's just one of those games in which you are just selecting cards, adding them to your sanctuary, and then at the end of the game, just seeing who has the most points. But of course, the trick is trying to decide, did my opponent put the card that I would want face down, or should I take the face up card? And just trying to be strategic about it. My opponent, she ended up having a lot of scoring conditions in her sanctuary, whereas I ended up having a lot of icons showing in mine and fewer scoring conditions, and she totally whooped my butt. So, you know, just saying, in case you play this game, maybe, you know, maybe it would be better to have more scoring conditions than icons. So I don't know, maybe I should have been paying more attention to what she was doing when I was playing. But I absolutely love the artwork. Like, the artwork, the watercolor artwork is just so beautiful, and I just seriously love it. And this is a really nice portable game to play at a cafe, which is what we did. So this, you know, can just fit easily into my purse, and I just really love, you know, these small pocket-sized games that are just pleasant to play while you're at cafes and stuff like that. So that was another game I played recently. I'll just briefly mention some other games that I played recently. So I played a couple games of Mandala, which actually appeared on my top 10 list for small box games if you happen to watch that. So Mandala is a really great 2019 game designed by Trevor Benjamin and Brett Gilbert, and the art is done by Clemens Franz, and it's published by Lookout Games. It's a 2-player game, and in this game you are going to have these mandalas which you are trying to complete. You're just basically placing cards from your hand either into the center, the mountain of the mandala, or into the rivers on each side. No, fields on each side, sorry, those are called fields, onto the fields on each side. And then once all colors are placed in a mandala, then you score that mandala, and then you get cards as a result, which you add to your river, and then cards in your river will determine your points at the end of the game, and you also have a cup. Like, I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but it is a very good 2-player game. Like, if you have not checked out Mandala, seriously check it out, because it is a seriously fantastic 2-player game, and I absolutely love it. So yeah, so that I played a couple of games of recently, which I really enjoyed. And then finally, I played Carcassonne. So I say finally because I played Carcassonne once many years ago, which was back in 2013, I think. And then I played a couple of games of it online on Board Game Arena, and I couldn't remember how to play it, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I just couldn't be bothered to like go through the rule book, which I know is really stupid. But like when I play games on Board Game Arena, it's just really harder for me to really commit myself to reading the rule book and trying to learn the game. I don't know why, like it's just easier for me to do that in person with like actual board games. But when I play on Board Game Arena, if it's a game I don't know, then I'll just kind of, first of all, I probably shouldn't agree to play games that I don't know on Board Game Arena, but I do, and I just figure, oh, I'll just start clicking here and there and just see what happens, and hopefully I'll learn how to play the game. And I've done that a number of times with a number of different games, and it always goes very badly because I have no clue what I'm doing. So that was the case with Carcassonne. So I had a friend who would want to play Carcassonne with me on Board Game Arena, and we had played several games, and I would just click and place down tiles randomly, not knowing what the hell I'm doing. Like every time it would ask me if I want to place a meeple, I'd be like, sure, because I wouldn't know that like there might be times when you don't want to do that. And yeah, so I would lose every game, of course, because I was just randomly doing stuff, not knowing what the heck I was doing. But finally I learned how to play Carcassonne. So it was a game night at my local game store recently, and they were teaching classic games, so they were teaching Carcassonne. So I finally learned how to play. So now when I play with my friend on Board Game Arena, I will actually know what I'm doing. So that's really good. So yeah, so Another game I played recently, but I cannot talk about right now, is Autumn, which is from Devere Games. But I will show this in the section in which I show new arrivals. But I did play this recently, but how to plays and reviews are still under embargo, but I will be able to show you the components from this game in a later section of this video. So those are the games that I played recently. So let's move on. So let's talk about games that I am backing. So I am only backing 2 games at the $1 or £1 level to get my production copies of them, and that is Explorers of Navoria, which ends on February 7th, and you can see it behind me right here, and I absolutely love this game, and I'm not just saying that. I know it's really hard to take what content creators say, as being, of course there's going to be biases that people feel because I was paid to do an overview video of this, but I seriously really did love this game a lot. So Explorers of Navoria, it has 3 days to go on Kickstarter, or by the time you see this, maybe 2 days. It's raised over $200,000 with over 3,500 backers, and it is a seriously good game. So I'm backing that at the £1 level in order to get my production copy of the game. And then also I'm backing Spires and Rangataki at the $1 level in order to get my production copy of that game. So Spires and Rangataki, I was paid to do an overview video of it. It's like a skirmish game. This is a game that I probably will end up giving away to one of my Ko-fi members. If one of them wants it, that is. So I have like these different tiers, and if you are subscribed at a certain tier, then you're eligible for giveaways. So if this is a game that it seems like they're interested in, then I'll probably end up giving this one away, just because, this one was more skirmish heavy, which is not really my thing, I would say. For that reason, I don't think I'll keep this one in my collection after I get it. But, I'm still looking forward to receiving my production copy so that hopefully I can give it away. And if one of my Ko-fi members doesn't want it, then I'll just do another kind of giveaway or something with it. So that's raised over $165,000 so far with over 3,000 backers, and that has 11 days to go. The artwork is stunning. I absolutely love the theme and the artwork, but again, it's like more of a skirmish game. So, I do enjoy some skirmish games, but this one, I only played 1 round of it, so I only played the first chapter or the first story or whatever you want to call it. So maybe if I'd played more, I might have, liked it a bit more, because I was not performing very well. So maybe that had something to do with it. But I unfortunately couldn't hang on to it. I had to send it on to another reviewer. So that's that. So let's move on to games that I have received. So I've received a number of games recently. So I will start with Devere Games. So Devere Games sent me their new game, Sultan Sea. So as you guys know, I am a huge fan of Devere's games. I think that they are just killing it with every game they have that they release. So this is no longer under embargo, so I hope I will get to play this soon. So Sultan Sea is designed by David Bernal and Amelia Sales. David Bernal, did we not just mention that name earlier today? Did I not play a game that was also... That name sounds familiar. I feel like we just mentioned that name earlier. So Sultan Sea looks really interesting, so I'm looking forward to playing it. There's just a whole bunch of components, so I guess I won't show you too much. But here is like the main board. It looks like it might be some kind of an economic game. I guess I can look it up and see. The main board is smallish, which is nice. So it doesn't look like it's a huge table hog or anything like that. And then it looks like each player will have their own individual player board. And then there are just a bunch of different components. It's the same box size as their the Red Cathedral and Bamboo and those games. So if you know those games, it's the same kind of box size as that. And there's just a bunch of different tiles and so on. So let me just read. There's a bunch of different cards and stuff. It's got a very, I like the, I'm not a huge fan of the artwork, but I like the color scheme of the artwork. So I don't like the artwork itself, like I guess the style is not so bad, actually. The cover is nice. Actually, it is really nice. It's kind of like I don't know what you would call that style. I wonder what that style is called, but let me look up the name, the game. So Sultan Sea. I could have sworn I mentioned David Bernal earlier. So Sultan Sea is a worker placement game. So It's, you know, a place that's in California, very close to the border of Mexico, with Mexico. So blah, 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 blah. So what are we doing? So it looks like we are trying to generate, so in this area of intense geothermal activity, you will drill the ground and extract brine, which, once processed, allows us to obtain the valuable lithium and sell it as part of a modern industry, far from fossil fuels, that will allow you to lead the energy transition towards a completely renewable future. Oh, that's good. That sounds nice. I like that. So let me just click on David Bernal's name, because I could have sworn I mentioned his name earlier today. Or maybe not. Never mind. I don't know why his name was ringing a bell. I did not mention it earlier. Strange. Okay, so yeah, so Salton Sea arrived, which I'm super excited for. The different player colors are purple, which is very good because I always play as purple, yellow, black, and green. A nice muted, like, sea green, which I really like. And just a bunch of different components and stuff in it. So I'm really looking forward to playing this. I hope I'll get to play it tomorrow, in fact, because I have some friends coming over for a game night. And then the other games they sent to me, I did play both of them, but I can't talk about them yet as they're still under embargo. But this is their next seasonal small box 2-player game, which is Autumn. So if you played the first one, it was called Winter. So I've now played this one as well. So this is a really good game to play in a cafe as well, which is where I played it. So of course it's kind of similar to Winter in that it's kind of like an area control game with just a bunch of different leaf cards. So yeah, it's a very simple game in which, you know, you're just basically trying to control a large area of your color leaf. So that is Autumn. So really happy about having received that. And then I received this game called Flash 10, which is designed by Wolfgang and Kramer. So I did play this. I feel like I'm talking about it even though I shouldn't. But so this was a fun game. I can show you the inside. So it's just, you'll see a bunch of different cards, with some of them will have lightning bolts on them, and some of the cards themselves will be lightning bolts. So I guess I'm not supposed to talk about it, so I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about how it plays, but I did play a 2-player game of this, and I do think it'll probably play better at a higher player count, which I'm looking forward to doing. But maybe in my next video, I'll talk about how it actually plays. So that is Flash 10. That's a fun kind of quick game as well. So those arrived. I received my production copy of Passengers, which I was excited about. So Passengers is a game that I covered for its Kickstarter, and I'm so happy that the box actually will fit all the cards. The prototype that I had really stunning components in it, and the box was super nice, but it was really thin and did not hold all of the components really well. But this one, it's bigger, so it holds all of the components plus the sleeved cards really nicely. So this is a social deduction kind of game, and I really enjoyed it. And it's got stunning components and stunning artwork, so I absolutely really just love the different kinds of artwork and the components in this game. So in this game, you know, you're trying to ferry people into the underworld, and you are either like a demon or not a demon, and you're trying to, you know, based on which group you're with, you may or may not want to ferry certain people into the underworld, and the way that they're placed is also going to make a difference. So here, let me just show you the different boards. Like, the artwork is just stunning, absolutely stunning. So yeah, so the game takes place over 3 parts of the day, like morning, afternoon, and evening. And then it comes with this really nice first player coin. And then it also comes with a player mat for the cards and stuff. So, oh, and the whisper tokens in the production copy look like this. So in the pre-production copy, they did not have the screen printing. And it also comes with this player mat, which is really nice. So yeah, just really love the art style. So yeah, and there's different cards with different abilities and stuff, and yeah, it's just a really cool social deduction kind of game. So I'm really excited about this, and I hope I will find a group to play this with. I don't actually know if my current gaming group that I play with regularly is into social deduction games or not, so I guess I'll need to ask them. So yeah, so that was one of the new arrivals. Another new arrival is Fractured Sky, which is my production copy of this game. So I covered this for its Kickstarter as well. This is from Ivy Studios, and this is big. So just comes with some, what is this? Just some artwork, I guess. Just some artwork of like the different factions or something, and then the rule book. Comes with an enamel pin, and then there's this board. So this doesn't stay very nicely in here. I don't know if it's supposed to snap in somehow, but mine does not snap in, so it doesn't like stay very nicely on here. I don't know. And then just all the different components for the different players, like the different kinds of, I don't even remember what these were called, like outposts or something. And then players, different tokens. So there's like just a lot in this box. So there's just, and the player screens for all the different players. And then I guess I don't need to punch these out because those look like they're the cardboard components. I'm not going to open everything, but I'll just give you just kind of a brief look at everything here. And then each player, I think, will have their own board. I wonder if these will stay nicely in. These look like they might stay in a little bit better than the other thing I showed you guys. But these are just all plastic. And of course the board. Oh, and the board is really nice. It's got foil, whatever you call it, hollow foil or hollow, just foiling. I don't know what it's called on the board. Like you can even see it in the video. That is really nice. So I did enjoy this game. I wouldn't say it was their best game, but I really did enjoy it. I think for me, it's really hard. Like I really love Moonrakers and I really love Mythic Mischief. So it's really hard for me to decide which of those two I think is the better one. But this one would definitely come in last for me. But it was still enjoyable, but probably comes in last for me. And then there's cards and these like crystal thingies and so on. Ooh, look at this card. That looks like, wow. Oh, okay, let me open this up because that looks really cool. Oh, wow, look at these cards actually. They're like all holographic or something. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Like wow, these are really amazing. Oh my God. Holy crap. They're so thick and so nice. Wow, that is so freaking impressive. Holy crap. Okay, the production quality on these cards is through the roof. Like, that is some serious, like, just wow. I don't think I've ever seen cards like this in a board game. Like they're so thick and they're all whatever you call it, like holographic or something. Like, oh my God, those are insane. The rest of the cards, I believe, are just regular cards. So yeah, I don't think those need to even be sleeved with the way they are. Those are seriously freaking impressive. I don't know what you call them. If you know what they're supposed to be called, that would be great. Now I can try to figure out how to put this back. So this arrived. I'm glad I opened that up. Those cards are seriously awesome. So let's see if I can fit everything back and not destroy it. Okay, and then another arrival. I guess I'll show you one that I actually paid for. Next, so one that I paid for as a Kickstarter I backed is Soul. So this arrived. So Soul, the last days of a star from Elephant Laboratories or Laboratories. So I backed this on Kickstarter, and it's for 1 to 5 players, and it's a strategic game of solar destruction and salvation. So you are playing as one of 5 worlds orbiting the sun, diving into the searing plasma to harvest critical energy needed to fuel your escape before the sun goes supernova. Like, this had such amazing reviews. I've never heard of the designers. Maybe this is their only game, but it had such amazing reviews, so I was super interested in this. So there is a rules of play and then like mythos. I don't know what that means. Like maybe there's like some stories around this. This seems like heavy cardstock, whatever that is. And here we have the sun. So there is actually a total solar eclipse happening this April, and I am super excited for it. I actually ordered a special type of telescope that will attach to my phone. I've gotten the shipping notification, but it better ship soon because we're all getting nervous about it. So it's called the Hestia, and I previously backed a telescope from them a few years ago called the Vespera. And sorry, I know I'm totally going off topic here, but with the Vespera, they were so terrible about shipping, and I used to complain all the time. I used to leave really negative comments, and I was just really just a negative Nancy about that whole campaign because I was just really displeased with it. But eventually I got everything for that campaign because it was a very expensive telescope, expensive for me at least. So I was really hesitant about backing the Hestia, but I just really, really wanted it because I'm obsessed with the moon. I love the moon, and the Hestia, it's like just a small kind of thing that will attach to your phone and just make it so your phone can take nicer pictures of like the sun and the stars and the moon and so on, but most importantly the moon. Like, it will allow your phone to take really good pictures of the moon, but it's also going to be really good for the solar eclipse, so I'm super duper excited. So I hope it arrives in time, and I will be in Rochester, New York, which is one of the best places to be for the eclipse. So I will, my plan is to go to a nice park in Rochester, New York during the eclipse and hopefully get some good photographs of it. And I need to buy some solar eclipse glasses as well. So here are the various player pieces, which are really nice and chunky. Uh-oh. Just hope I remember to pick that up because something fell. I hope these aren't broken. There's some tiny stuff. But yeah, so there's just a bunch of different colors. There's black, silver, green, blue, and purple. And we have what look like these raindrop thingies, a bunch of red cubes, a bunch of different cards, like lots of cards, which I haven't opened up yet. Actually, maybe I'll play this tomorrow at game night. This looks interesting if my friends are down for it, that is. It looks like some player guides, so like it tells you what you can do. So like choose an action, move, convert, or activate, and then it goes into different details about each thing. So yeah, and then it looks like it includes a setup guide as well, which is kind of nice. So that arrived, which I backed on Kickstarter, so I'm excited about that. Let's put everything back though. And then another game that, oh wait, there's these as well. And then another game that arrived is a game that I had covered for its Kickstarter. And so, two actually. So the first one, that I'll show is Buru. So I covered Buru for its Kickstarter. So this has arrived. I'm really looking forward to playing this. So this is the Ambaloo expansion. Now I played this so long ago that I honestly do not remember anything about it. Like a very, very long time ago. Like so many games from like a few years ago that still haven't delivered that I'm still that I would not remember anything about. So yeah, so I put in all the components from both the base game and the expansion in here, but it's got some really cool components. So each person will have their own like player tokens. I do remember like it's some kind of an auction bidding game, of course, or a bidding game. And then there's like these resources. I love that new board game smell. It just smells so good. Okay, so there's just a bunch of different components there. Some ships. Actually, maybe we'll play this tomorrow. There's just so many games I want to play. I don't know. These are interesting. They almost feel like they're kind of transparent through the light. Those are nice. There's this board. I think that's the expansion. I thought it was really interesting that this game, the rulebook came in both English and then the language of the region that this game is based in. So I believe it's like somewhere in Southeast Asia. So it came in a rulebook that was also in some Southeast Asian language, which I thought was pretty cool. There's these, and then I'll just hold this up. There's like just a bunch of different components and stuff in here. And just a bunch of different cards. Yeah, but like I said, I really have no clue how to play anymore. That's a problem when you play so many games and you spend so much time between games. It's not like you're going to remember everything. Okay, these are upside down, sorry. So yeah, so this arrived and there's like some kinds of like altar thingies. And just a bunch of different round tokens. Okay, so that arrived. So I'll put this back. And then finally, I received my production copy of Scholars of the South Tigris, which I'm super excited about. I'm actually due to receive the new copy as well. How am I supposed to put this back in? It's not going back in. Okay, there we go. I'm actually due to receive the third game in the trilogy. Oh, that reminds me, I forgot to talk about a game that I played. I'll have to go back and record a segment for that. I recently played Wayfarers of the South Tigris again, and I want to talk about that play. But I received this, so I received Scholars of the South Tigris, which is my production copy of the game. I guess I won't open it because there's just so much crap here right now. Let's see, we'll see. This board, which I'm probably never going to use because it's a solo board. And this giant board. Yeah, okay. And then, you know, each person has their own individual board. So in this game, you're just translating languages. Yeah, I'm not going to go into too much in this, but there's just a bunch of different colored dice and different cards with different like people on them, like translators and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just going to leave that for now just because I've created a huge mess here. So yeah, so that arrived. So I'm really excited to play that again because I do want to play it again before Inventors comes so that I can talk about then which of the three is my favorite after playing Inventors. So I would like to play Scholars again before Inventors arrives. So I think that's it. Let me just check my computer and then I need to go back and talk about Wayfarers. Yes, so let me end this segment and go back. So I don't have too many updates really, so I guess I'll just do my weekly update on Palestine. And I know when I talk about Palestine, people must be wondering, like, this has nothing to do with board games. Why do you always talk about it? So if anyone is new to my channel, I've been, you know, talking a lot about what's happening in Palestine in every weekly playback video and just talking about what I perceive to be the double standards and hypocrisy of the board game industry. So if you're new to my channel, I've previously mentioned that if you are someone who stays silent about every issue there is and never talks about social issues or political issues or anything like that, then that's perfectly fine. Like, I don't care. Like, that's, you know, people want to play games and they don't want to talk about, you know, various things that are happening in the world. That's perfectly understandable if you just want to enjoy your time. But there are people in this industry who insist that you bring social justice issues into the board gaming space. And it's those people who are really upsetting me by not talking about what's going on in Palestine. Because there are a number of people in this industry who have talked a lot about Black Lives Matter, about the invasion of Ukraine, about, you know, supporting trans rights, about stopping Asian hate, and all of these other social issues which they have been extremely vocal about, and have been extremely vocal about not supporting publishers or designers who have not been vocal about those issues. And these same people have been dead silent about what is happening in Palestine and the ongoing genocide. Over 30,000 innocent people have been killed in Palestine, which now includes over 13,000 children. Over 13,000 kids have been killed. There have been so many babies, thousands of babies who haven't reached even 1 year of age who have been killed. There are countless miscarriages that women are having. I mean, you know, like, if people aren't being killed by bombs, they're being killed from starvation because Israel is preventing aid from getting into Gaza. Food is preventing food and clean water from getting into Gaza. All the hospitals have been destroyed in Gaza. There is not a single working, standing hospital anymore. Like, so they've all been destroyed. Schools have been destroyed. Mosques have been destroyed. Everything has been destroyed. It is, you know, Gaza is currently uninhabitable. Like, it is recognized as being uninhabitable. I'm not going to talk about the ICJ decision. There's been so much commentary on that. So if you're curious about that, you can go find it. You know, there's people on both sides of the spectrum who view it as a win for themselves. So there's Palestinians who viewed it as a win. There's Israelis who viewed it as a win. Like, you know, everyone is interpreting the decision in the way that they want to. So I'm not going to talk about the ICJ decision, even though I'm a lawyer. Like, that's just not something I'm going to get into right now. What I am going to talk about, though, in order to tie this to the board game industry, is that there was a board game created in Israel about settling Gaza, about colonizing Gaza. So now there is a board game in existence in Israel where people are trying to create homes and build homes in Gaza when Gaza is meant for the Palestinians. Like, you already drove Palestinians out of proper Israel into these strips, into Gaza and the West Bank, and now you've basically committed a genocide in Gaza, completely leveled the place, and now you have a board game in existence about creating homes for Israelis in Gaza. So, you know, I would love to know why people are still silent. This news broke out a few days ago. I've been posting about it for a few days now. I posted about it on Instagram. I've posted about it several times on Twitter. Like, I heard from someone else that there was even a thread about it on BGG, yet all the same people who are just so vocal about Black Lives Matter and, you know, Ukraine and all these other issues, and who have, like, you know, taken issue with other people in the community about remaining silent, who are silent about this. So I view that as complete hypocrisy and double standards. Like, people like Eric Lang and Rodney Smith and Suzanne Sheldon and so many others who are part of that, like, clique, who have given shit to so many publishers and board gamers for not caring about the same issues that they care about, who have called on publishers to be boycotted, are now have been completely silent throughout this entire genocide. It's been over 120 days, over 30,000 innocent civilians have been killed, and now you can actually tie it into the board game industry and they are still silent. Like, these are the same people who will throw fits about games that are based on history, like colonization in actual history, which is stuff that actually happened. Like, you can't turn a blind eye to what real history was. Like, colonization is a thing that actually happened, and there are board games that use that as a theme. So there are board games that are about colonizing certain areas. Like, that is history. And they will throw fits about these board games because they are about colonization, and they say that these board games support and promote colonization, yet real life colonization, they are dead silent. They have not said a peep about the colonization of Gaza, which is exactly what's happening right now. I mean, I'm not even going to touch the whole topic of Israel in this video right now and its creation and how many, like myself, view that as colonization. So colonization that has been happening since 1948. So I'm not even going to touch that. Just like looking at Gaza alone, just at what is happening in Gaza and staying silent about the genocide and now the colonization of Gaza, like it was so obvious that the intent was to completely level a place so that they could make it their own, and they have been trying to drive out all the Palestinians from every last bit of land in Gaza. Like, getting the refugees returned has not even been a priority for Netanyahu. Like, that is so obvious. That is why you have Israeli citizens who are extremely angry at Netanyahu. And he is just basically continuing on this war because he knows if he doesn't continue on this war, that is the end of his reign of terror. Like, he is done then. He is basically done being prime minister once this war ends because the people of Israel are not happy with him either. So he has no concerns for the hostages being returned. It's basically all been about destroying Gaza and taking over Gaza, and they've been contacting countries in Africa to try to get them to take in the Palestinians. So the intent is super clear. The intent for genocide and colonizing Gaza was super clear, yet all these people who throw fits about board games based on colonization in history are not throwing a fit about a board game that is existing right now about the ongoing colonization of Gaza, which is happening in real time, real life, as we are speaking. So this is something that is actually happening right now, and the board gaming community is still silent. All these people who pride themselves on being champions of human rights and diversity still dead silent. Like, I already talked about Rodney's bullshit video from back in November that he made, in which he excused himself for why he's not condemning the genocide and calling for a ceasefire, and people praised him for this bullshit video. If you just change the words in Rodney's video and change it to all about Black Lives Matter, no one would be praising him for that. No one would be saying, oh, you know, it's cool, Rodney, make excuses for yourself. Like, that's perfectly acceptable. No one would be praising him for that video. No one would be saying, yes, Rodney, you're amazing. But that's literally what happened when he made this bullshit video excusing himself. And he made a video talking about why he won't condemn the genocide, why he won't call for a ceasefire, because it's so complicated. If these same people heard someone saying that Black Lives Matter and the subjugation of like Black people in America, or the fact that they don't have access to equal opportunities in America, if someone called that complicated, they would basically say, no, you're an idiot, and like throw a huge hissy fit about it. But here you see them all completely silent about what is happening in Gaza. It is complete hypocrisy. It's double standards, and it's disgusting. And I'm still the only, person who's just really upset about the fact that there are so many, well, no, actually I'm not the only person. That's not true. There are a number of people, I think, who are upset about the fact that there are, that there's this complete hypocrisy. Like, there's people on Instagram as well. So I made a post about this board game, this Israeli board game, on Instagram. And there were a number of people who expressed outrage about the fact that the board game community is still completely silent on this. Like, the people that they would expect to be outspoken, like Eric Lang and Rodney Smith and so on, are completely silent and have been silent since October 7th, since the genocide began. They have been completely silent, and they will remain silent. And someone else even commented on Twitter, like, Israel could be found guilty of genocide and these people will still remain silent. And we know why that is. It's because they're sellouts. Like, sorry, it's so obvious why you're not speaking out. It's because you're a sellout and you don't want to upset your Zionist publisher and designer friends. There is no other reason to stay silent about this issue when you've been so vocal about Ukraine and Black Lives Matter and all these other issues that you find so important and will bring up in the board gaming community and want other people in the board gaming community to get on board with. And same goes with like women's rights. Like, when Roe versus Wade was overturned, there were some people from certain publishing companies, certain designers, who were just, very in favor of Roe versus Wade being overturned. And all these people like Suzanne Sheldon and others were extremely upset and were like, you can't support designers and publishers who are against women's rights. And so they made a huge fuss about that. So when it comes to certain human rights, they are very vocal, but when it comes to Arabs and Muslims being decimated in Palestine, dead silence. And it's just complete hypocrisy and double standards, and it's really, really disgusting. So yeah, and every time I call it out, I get called, problematic, I get called toxic, and all of these other terms by these people. And, I've been, Eric Lang has subtweeted about me. He's posted a lot of shit. He's like, oh, I'm not going to be, these people are just always trying to get clout and trying to get me to argue with them. No, I'm not trying to get him to argue with me. Like, I couldn't care less about these people because they've shown me their true colors. Like, I have no desire to ever, even be in the same room as these people. I would never want to game with them. I would never want to have anything to do with them, because as far as I'm concerned, they've all shown me that they are complete sellouts and that all they care about is profits at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, they don't want to upset their Zionist friends and their Zionist publisher and designer friends. Like, why else would they stay silent about this? It's obvious. So yeah, so I'm just really, really angry about that still. Like, it's just, for someone like me, it makes me feel kind of alone in this industry. But, there are others in this industry who are not Muslim, who are not of a Middle Eastern background, who have been very vocal about Palestine, and I really, really appreciate that. Then on the flip side, there are Muslims who have not been vocal. So there is a Muslim content creator on Instagram who has, more followers than I do on Instagram. It's like his main platform. And he has stayed dead silent about this genocide. And I reached out to him in private message when I saw that he had liked a post, which really upset me. And he just was like, oh, I'm going to keep politics and Instagram separate. And then he went on to go on a live stream on Instagram with someone who had on his profile who's a Zionist and was basically very pro-Israel and, supporting the genocide of the Palestinians. And this Muslim guy appeared on a live stream on Instagram with him. And I'm like, so you have sellouts who are even Muslim. And I've seen that on TikTok as well. There's a lot of Muslim creators and Arab creators who have sold out because they don't want to lose their followers and they don't want to lose their business that they make from their influencing. So unfortunately, that's the kind of world we live in today, where people are sellouts. People would rather value the money that they're making, the business that they're making from the content they create, rather than having integrity and sticking to things that they say they believe in. Like this, Muslim creator who I contacted on Instagram says, oh yeah, I'm very pro-Palestinian, I'm totally against what's happening, yet he is promoting games nonstop from Zionist publishers. He's, going on live streams with Zionists who've basically supported the genocide publicly. Like, no, where is your integrity? So as I've said time and time again on my channel, integrity to me is the most important thing. And if you ever see me showing a lack of integrity, I would ask you to call me out. Like, you can privately message me if you don't want to do it publicly even. Like, there's always, nice ways to go about things first. Like when I saw this guy, doing what I thought was inappropriate, I privately messaged him. And then clearly he was showing me in private messages that he just doesn't care. So which is why I'm talking about this, but I haven't called him out by name, but maybe people can figure out who he is. But like, it's just very upsetting to me when I see people claim to be about something, claim to care about a certain cause, and then their actions prove otherwise. Like that just shows a complete lack of integrity. And so if you're new to my channel, I've also said before, like the reason I know that I can talk about this and not care if my profits are affected, like my board game profits, which are very minimal, by the way, like I don't make, much money from this. The reason I can do this is because my livelihood is not dependent on my content creation. And thank God, because I think that this industry is really crap. I think that this industry is filled with a lot of hypocrisy and double standards. It's filled with a lot of clicks. I think that there's, always drama in this industry, and people are always looking to find someone else to shit on and create a big storm over. Like they're just always looking for drama in this industry. So I would never want my livelihood to be dependent on the board game industry. So it's not, and I'm very grateful for that. So that is why I can have integrity, and if people want to stop working with me, if people want to stop sending me games because of me supporting Palestinians, then that is perfectly fine. I can afford to buy the games that I want to buy, so that's fine, But for people like Rodney Smith and Eric Lang, whose livelihood does depend on board games, it shows why they're complete sellouts right now, and it shows why they're completely silent about the genocide in Palestine, because they don't want their business affected. And that is the definition of a sellout. Like, you would rather have your profits coming in than speaking up against a human rights tragedy that is unfolding before your very eyes. Like, these are the same kinds of people who would just stand by and let the Holocaust happen if they felt that they were, by speaking up, they would lose money. So, people who ask how the Holocaust was allowed to happen, like, you're basically letting a new Holocaust happen right now. Like, you are basically watching a genocide unfold, and you are staying silent because you don't want to lose money. It is very disgusting. So yeah, now that I've seen that there's a board game that exists about colonizing Gaza, and that is happening in real time, real life right now, and people are still silent, it's like, what is your excuse for staying silent now? Like, if the excuse that Rodney and Eric want to make is that this has nothing to do with board gaming, they can't tie it into board gaming somehow, but somehow they can tie Ukraine and Black Lives Matter and Trans Lives Matter and all of that to board gaming. Somehow all of that is tied to board gaming, that they can, be very outspoken about that. But if the excuse was that this has nothing to do with board gaming, well, now it does. It very clearly does have to do with board gaming now. So where is the outrage? But there is none. So anyway, so that is my, statement on what is happening about Palestine right now. So that's still continuing on, and it's still very, very sad. So moving on, let's just go to the question of the week. So having played Satori recently, and I really, really enjoyed it, I got to thinking about other games I played with a Japanese theme that I really enjoyed, like Iki or The White Castle. I've really enjoyed those, or even Dragon Castle, which is like an abstract kind of strategy game in which you're placing these really nice tiles. I should probably get that out again sometime soon. It's been years since I've played Dragon Castle. So I want to know, what is your favorite Japan-themed game? So please let me know in the comments below. And until next week, bye.